Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. In this episode, I'll be continuing the activation of Hindman's division, which is the first activation that we've had of this actual battle on the first turn. And last episode, we started with Gladden's brigade, who's been attached to Hindman's division for this first turn. And remember, I've got to complete a continuous front. Go through the sequence. We've already had the AM draw, change order phase. We're in the action phase for the chosen brigade, and we're going to be doing shavers so I can keep this continuous line going forward. So I can activate each, it doesn't matter which unit I can activate. I don't have to start with a specific one. And remembering if you haven't seen the last episode, why not? I went through what the information on the units were. The main one we're looking at here at the present moment is that little number at the bottom there, which is the move value. I think I can even zoom in further if I so wish. I can. There we go. Let's get maximum zoom. Okay, so without any further, let's do this. I'm going to start with this unit because at the end of the movement, I want to be somewhere around about here. So moving through the getting the rain effect sheet. Field boundary costs the same as the woods if you cross an actual wood hex side, which in this case we will do. So that will be 1.5, 3, 4.5. Now we don't have enough movement points to get into that hex because it costs an extra point to cross the stream, and I don't want to go into that hex because then I wouldn't have a continuous front. So I can see what this continuous front is trying to do. It's slowing the combat credits down just a little bit. Is it historical precedent? I presume there must be as well. And okay, so he can't really go any further. This one here, that's only one to go into there because we're not crossing a wood hex side. So that's 1, 2.5, 4, 5.5. Okay, carrying on. We'll move Shaver a little bit to the side for the moment. I've got to work out where I want him to be. Now, look at the size of these units. They're in advance orders. Maybe I should put one of these here because the brigade could be on a different order, so I'm going to keep him next to him for the moment. The stacking limit is 15 in advance orders, strength points in a hex, or 1 regiment, 1 foot regiment. So I can't stack this unit on top of that unit, for example. So anyway, so far we've gone 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. And then the next one, 1.5, 3. Now, that's an interesting, am I actually crossing a hex side here? That's a wood hex side. Now, I can move through this unit, but there's extra movement point costs for doing so. And I think you've got to do what's called a UDD. Oh, it's the first time I've used that term. What on earth is a UDD? Okay, well, it's called a universal disorder die roll. And you'll hear that a lot when I carry on playing. So, but anyway, so far he's done 1.5, 3. I'm going to count that as 4.5. Now the question is, this unit, which will be the next brigade activated, will they get up to here? And I think the answer to it is he will. So 6. You notice these cavalry are attached to woods, so they can't move now. This artillery is part of Hindman's division, and they can activate, and they're independent of any actual. Oh, look, they're part of yellow, so they are. Just notice the yellow there. Interesting. Shavers is sort of orangey. Well, these are brown. Okay, that's just probably in the counter mix. So yes, this artillery can move, and will do so. Now this here is that a road? Yeah, they've got different definitions of roads and pikes and so many different things on here. Let me just verify if that's a road or a pike or a draw, or it doesn't seem to be any pikes. It's a term we don't use in England. So yeah, that's a road. Same as that is a damn fine question. Is that a road or is that a trail? This, because it's got a little board around it, is definitely a road. And I define that as a trail, or what they call a farm lane trail. Yeah, that is. I'm going to treat it as a trail. It doesn't look. I don't know. I don't know. Be that a road or a trail. Let's just remove the units for a moment. It calls it the Corinth Road. There we go. Which is covered in units. That's another thing. I know I keep upping the why I like the Battle module, but there we go. There's a definite reason. So artillery can use the road at half a movement point per hex. Now, in addition to the stacking of one infantry unit in a hex, you can have up to 6 or 1 battery or 6 strength points of artillery with infantry. Now, if you look at that stack, there's quite a few points there. Do I want it to be in the front line? Probably not. But so I'm going to keep it moving along the road. There we know it is. That's half, 1, 1.5. I think that's fine. I don't want to move it any further forward there. And then Mr. Shavers himself, I'll get that advanced marker off him. He can go 1 movement on a field farm lane is half, 2, 3, 4. Remember, these guys have got 10 movement points in total. Okay, and I'm going to put the advanced marker near him. And can I clone that? I can. There we go. He's had his first activation. Okay. Okay, on to Woods Brigade. And this is where we're going to have probably our first shot of the game. I'm going to have this unit here, firing at this unit here. Now, I was checking the rules on this, and I'm a little bit... Okay, so I've just drawn the line of sight there. And to my mind, the MS, is that the 3rd Mississippi Regiment, can see this Peabody's detachment. Why do I think that? Okay, well, let's clear the units for the moment. We have the Mississippi on the lower elevation here, because the center of where this contour is. So if that contour line had been over this side, then they would have been on the higher elevation. So they're on the lower elevation. Also, less than half the hex is this woods terrain. So if they were moving, let's bring the units back from that hex, they're moving in the open. If they're moving from there to there, they're moving through. Again, less than half that hex is the terrain, but they're crossing, to my mind, a hex side. That line of fire, so let's just show that again, does cross through the wood symbol. However, Peabody's brigade detachment is on the upper elevation. Okay, so I was thinking, okay, is there a canopy of trees rule? This being in effect from this hex here. Well, that hex to my mind is clear. Yes, there is a hex side there, and a hex side there, and a hex side there, the cross movement, but the hex itself is clear. So the line of sight passes through one of these wood hexes into that hex, which is fine, which is allowed. So I think the line of sight there is clear. However, if any of you are watching it and say, no, 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 you totally misunderstand it, let me know. But that's what he's going to do. 3rd Mississippi is going to fire the Peabody detachment. Okay, so when we come to firing, the maximum amount of strength points that can fire out of a hex is 7. So we're okay there. There's only 6 in that unit. Remember, the R is rifled musket, and the range is 3 hexes. So on my range effects charts, that tells me that I have no modifier. If I was at 2 hexes, there'd be a +1 modifier to the roll. Remembering high is good. And at 1 hex range, there's also only a +1. So we're getting a 0 modifier for range. And then we're firing at a detachment in the woods. So when it comes to firing at the woods, it's -1. So we're net -1 at the moment. And I believe this class is I think a detachment gives another -2. Let me just check that. Yes, firing at a detachment accrues another -1. So it's a net -2. -1 for the woods and -1 because they're a small group of dudes, the detachment. So that is -2. Remember, high is good. I'm going to roll. You should be able to see the die rolls over here. So we've got the first shot. It's a 7. Subtracting 2 is a 5. Okay, which on my little combined arms check, it says 6 to 8 with a 5 is a D, little d +1. Now, what do I actually mean by little d +1? I'm going to type that in here while I explain what these. This is a reminder for myself. Okay, so that means they've got to do a check for disorder, and there's a +1 modifier for it. Remembering that you need to roll low because you need to get equal to or less than that value there, which is their cohesion rating. Okay, so yeah, so that's what the D +1 means. It's got to be equal to or less than that number. So a 7 or less, but remember there's now a +1 modifier because from the combat results table, but also one of the special rules for just to replicate the surprise and such forth is that there's an additional +1 for US units. USA add +1 to UDD, route and rally rolls from 6 a.m. through to 9 a.m. I don't think there's any exception to that because this system likes having exceptions to exceptions. Okay, and also green units. Okay, I don't think there's any effect. Oh, actually, is there an effect on that fire? Did I miss that one? Doesn't seem to be. Now, it's a special rule for this battle. Series rule exception. They do not have any negative fire modifier. Well, they've obviously been training in the shooting, but this is still their first battle. So we have, again, I have a tendency to waffle. We have a UDD to perform on that Peabody detachment, which is labeled detachment A. Its cohesion rating is 7, but there is a +2 modifier on it. So here's the roll. We roll 6, +2 is 8, which is 2 higher. Oh, sorry, 1 higher. So this unit is flipped and becomes disordered. Okay. Woohoo! First shot achieved. I'm now going to mark this unit as moved. It hasn't, because when you're under advanced order, you either shoot or move. You can't do both. I'm marking it as moved as a reminder to myself that I know he's shot. I mean, there's not an actual, or is there an actual shot marker? Oh, there is fire. Oh man, that is so tiny. Wow, that is so. Can you? I don't know if you can see that little tiny little F on there. And then I suppose you've got to remember to actually remove it. Might be useful. Oh, there is an Alt C reset. Let's see what happens to that. Oh, it does remove it. Okay, I'm going to use that then. Firing. Opportunity fire. No, it's fine. Now, this unit is allowed to return fire on that. Each unit that's fired at can be return fire once per activation. And we're talking about an activation of a brigade. So if, say, this unit had line of sight to him and he had fired on him in Shaver's activation, then he could return fire to that. And then under Wood's activation that unit has fired, he could return fire to that too, per brigade activation. This is why sometimes it's useful to do a combined activation with a division, getting as many of these brigades activating at the same time, because units can only return fire once per activation. And this return fire is simultaneous with the actual shot that caused it. That means it's done before this unit actually disorders. So it's a non-disordered unit. So, however, it's obviously quite small. Now, only 2 steps. He's armed with a musket, which at 3 hex range is actually a -3 modifier. Not good. So -3. Then, other modifier is a detachment firing is an extra -1, so it's -4. And he is in, well, is he? He's in a field boundary hex, which I think still gives a -1. It's -5. Not great. So let's roll the dice. 7 take away 5 is 2. So on the 2, with 2, that's no effect. They just show, and now the disorder comes into effect. Okay. And I think I can actually mark him as well. See? Firing, return fire. Oh, I've got a little RN on there. So hopefully that will clear in a moment. Anyway, carrying on with Wood's brigade. Now, how much is it to go through those buildings terrain cost-wise? No effects. Okay. All right. Oh, there's 2 units there. Now remember in the stacking, so that is quite legal. Because you can have up to 15 strength points in a hex. So 1.5, 3. This is where it's a little bit technical. Okay, so there's still a field boundary hex. There are woods on that hex side. So 4.5. Now, let's just clear the terrain again. From there to there, we're crossing a gully because it's lower terrain. That's along the hex side there. And a gully adds a +1 to the movement cost. So it has got a gully or ridge hex 3 or more lines in total, treat each side as the appropriate slope. That's only one line, so it's still a +1 to cross that. So far, 1.5, 3, 4.5. He can't move into there, but he can move into there. Moving through costs movement points. Moving into does not. Entering that hex doesn't cost any additional because I'm not moving through, so that will be, and because they're entering from the rear hex side of this unit, they stack underneath. So let's just move those there and there. Okay, so that's 6 movement points. Now I do need a unit here because of the continuous front rule, and that's what the Tennessee 55 TN under Tennessee. American viewers, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So he's going to follow the same route, and that therefore maintains a continuous front. Okay, then there's 2 units in this one as well. Oh, little dinky brigades. Okay. Now, I'm not moving these as a stack. I'm not allowed to. So, now, that is crossing what's that? Again, 1.5, 2, 3, 4. We can go in there for 5. Now, do I want to change my face? Because at the present moment, he's shooting out here and here. So I think we're going to change his facing. Rotate clockwise. Okay. Does that cost? Doesn't cost any additional movement. I'm allowed to change the facing by 60 degrees, or 1 vertex in this case, for each hex I move into at no additional cost. Unless they're in terrain. I think that's an exception, unless they're in something like woods hex. If they're in a woods hex and they're under attack orders because of their linear formation, these are on advance orders, so that's perfectly fine. It's in the open anyway. Okay. I'm going to move this unit here now. Now he's going up a gradual slope there. So far it's been down. Going up a gradual slope. Now see, a minor slope is 2. So gradual slopes have no effect on movement. A gradual slope is when it's only got one contour in the hex. So he's going from there to there, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 6. Again, the cost from there to there is 1 because there's no woods in that hex, even though we're going into a boundary hex. Okay. Now, can we get this unit? So that one, I think so, yeah. So he can go 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. Okay. And then the little dinky unit at the back, good quality, 7. Not bad, not too shabby. He's going to go 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 5. I think we'll move wood keep them all together. That's Woods Brigade activated. Not on it. There we go. He's done. So now I'm going to clear that. And remember, I've got a unit here with an F on it. So what if I now reset? It resets his unit, but it doesn't reset. And that would be nice to have an overall reset, wouldn't it? Of unless I'm missing something in these here. Archery track. No. No. Okay. Slight pain. That would have been nice to have a reset that would reset all the firing, but hey ho. Right, we're over to Claiborne. Brigade. Again, we have so far maintained a continuous front. And how far can these guys get? So 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. Big units again. Musket armed. 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. 1.5, 3, 4.5. Mm, 6. 1.5, 3, 4.5, 5.5, and 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. Okay. So some of these rear units. 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. And there's quite a few artillery here. So artillery moving through woods is 3. Ooh, that's quite slow. There ain't no roads, so and the artillery aren't affected by the continuous line modifications. So 3, 6. Trying to get onto something that passes through here. What we got here? So 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6. Field boundary for artillery is, that's interesting. It's only 2 with a little brackets with a 3 next to it. Why is the little brackets? The left is from the movement from a field or field boundary hex. The right number is from movement from a woods hex or a different field boundary hex. I do like these rules. The left number is for the movement from a field or same field boundary hex. Okay, so yeah, now to go from there to there will cost it 3, because that's a field boundary hex. So if you was moving from there to there, that only costs 2. Okay. Right. And we want to keep now. Clayble's got a command range of 5. They don't have to be stacked with the unit. And remember, command control. This artillery, I've probably moved out of command control, but it's determined next turn. So I need to get that artillery back in. So I'm going to move Claiborne up here. Also, command control. So if a unit of a command is adjacent to another So if a unit is out of command range is adjacent to a unit that is in command range, it's in command range. And then the last thing I could have moved Hindman at any point during on any one of these brigade activations. He's also got 10 movement points. I'm going to move him to here because I want to keep at least a couple of these brigades under command. Okay. And that actually completes. Ooh, missed those. Just realised they were part of Wood's brigade. Oh well. I'll move those next time Hindman is activated. Yeah. And there we go. That is the first chit finished. Whew. Took a bit of time. Let's just actually zoom out a bit and see where we are overall now. The first wave is definitely moving forward, apart from its cavalry, which is having a little smoke in the woods there. Okay, we've had our first shot. So let's see what the next chit will be. So this is where I go to the draw pool. Now, also, I need to show this. So that was Hindman there. I now place that. Is it this one? It is. Okay, so on the Confederate sheet here, this counter is now moved over to Hardy's. Okay, to show we've had our first AM there. Oh, I could zoom that in, but we don't need to. And then we draw from here. And it's drum roll. Flip it. It's unassigned. Army of the Mississippi. What does that actually mean? Well, I couldn't find any Confederate unassigned units. I think some might be coming on as reinforcements at some point. So that chit actually does nothing. That's a bit of an anticlimax, isn't it? Oh, well, we'll put that on the little chart and then we'll draw the next one. Ruggles. Ruggles is activated. So a quick look. Move those out the way. Okay, Ruggles. Where is Ruggles? There he is. Down here. And that will be the activation of the 1st Division, 2nd Corps. Brags. And that's all those orange units from there to there. And we will do that in the next video. Let's go back to the top. Well, we've had our first complete activation, AM chit. And now we're moving on to Ruggles Division. And that sequence continues. So I'll do the Ruggles Division, as I said, when we're looking at the screen in the next video. We've had our first actual shot ring out, first disorder. When can units recover from disorder? That's when they're activated. So when Peabody's detachments are actually activated, they can then either move or test for recovery. If they're testing for recovery from disorder, they're not able to shoot. So what will that unit do? If it gets shot at again and it suffers another disorder, that's when it has to roll on the 2nd disorder table. And in this particular game, there's a potential for rout. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm trying to keep, as I say, this video short. I'll find that out once I've actually pressed the finish here, and we'll see how we've gone. If you could subscribe and like and all the other YouTube stuff, comment, share, be much appreciated. But until next time, play games, have fun. Bye, Internet.